It's time for the Bulldogs free hit team for game week 13. We're starting off in goal. I've decided to go for Emi Martinez at home to Wolves. After a really poor start to the season, Villa have had a real turnaround in form, winning 5 league games from 6, and they've also kept 2 clean sheets in their last 3 matches. There's arguably a handful of keepers that you could back this week: Kelleher, Donnarumma, Vicario. However, I think that Martinez has the best fixture of the lot from a defensive point of view. Wolves have picked up a dismal 2 points from a possible 33, and they've only scored 7 goals across those games, so I really don't have much hope for them in coming away with a result from Villa Park. First up in the back 3, it's Nico O'Reilly. The Man City wingback has really been one of the key talking points over the past few game weeks, having returned a goal and 2 assists over his last 4 Premier League matches, amounting to a total of 31 FPL points. O'Reilly has started every league game except for one since game week 4, and so he seems fairly safe to make the starting 11 despite Pep Roulette. Away from home, Leeds have lost 5 times on 6 occasions, so this definitely is right up there as a fixture to target for game week 13. Joining O'Reilly at the back is Van den Berg. Brentford have been on a decent run of form of late, winning 4 games out of 6 in the Premier League. Clean sheets have been hard to come by, however, with the Bees keeping 2 throughout the entire season. Having said that, seeing as the free hit chip allows you to pick a player for just a single game week, I think that it's worth including Van den Berg here in the starting 11. Similarly to Leeds, Burnley have lost 5 out of 6 matches away from home this season, and with the way that Brentford are playing, I can see the home side dominating this one. The centre-back also offers a lot of aerial threat, and the Bees have one of the best long throw-ins in the division. Another player who offers a lot of aerial threat is Virgil van Dijk, who's the final defender to make the team. Van Dijk was really unlucky not to score against Man City last week, with his headed goal ruled out due to Robertson being in an offside position in front of the keeper. However, I'm taking faith in the fact that he's usually targeted during set pieces, and West Ham are the worst team in the division at defending them, having already conceded 9 goals directly from them. After a messy run into the international break with 5 defeats in 6, I'm hopeful that Liverpool can regroup and return as a team with a lot more resilience and structure in their performances. I'm hopeful that that's the case anyway, because I'm doubling up on Liverpool's assets with Mo Salah. Just like Van den Berg, Salah is another player who I'm definitely not interested in owning for the long term, but for a single game week punt, I definitely think it's worth going there, especially as the Hammers tend to concede tons of goals. By Salah's standards, 4 goals and 2 assists over 11 game weeks is pretty poor going. However, 2 of those goals have come in the last 3 weeks, so he is picking up just a little bit of momentum. I'm taking faith in the fact that his expected goal involvement numbers have improved slightly of late, and with penalties, you just never know what'll happen. It'll be exciting including him here in the team, now that he's owned by under a quarter of the game, making him a relative differential. After going 9 game weeks without scoring, Morgan Gibbs-White has now scored in back-to-back game weeks, and I think he's a really good differential to back this week at home to Brighton. The Forest midfielder was substituted late on in the 3-1 victory over Leeds, and minutes later, Anderson converted a penalty. However, my expectation is that Gibbs-White will remain on them, so long as Wood continues to be sidelined through injury. Although Brighton have put up some impressive attacking numbers, defensively, they almost always offer up chances, and because of that, they've conceded on 15 occasions already this season. I'm recording this before the game week 12 fixtures have taken place, and why that's important to note is because I've included Kevin Xherdan Shada here, who's currently on 4 yellow cards. If the Brentford winger were to pick up a 5th yellow against Brighton, then there's a number of other midfielders I'd consider in his place. Jeremy Doku and Declan Rice are probably 2 names towards the top of that list. Shada has largely gone under the radar since the season began, and I think a big part of that has to do with his price. 7 million is a lot of money for a Brentford player, especially when some of their big hitters left the club during summer. However, a 1-week punt on a player who's returned 2 goals and an assist in his last 4 games, and who faces Burnley at home, just seems far too good to turn away from. Completing the 4-man midfield is Morgan Rogers for this appetising home game against Wolves. Hopefully by now you can start to see that this free hit team is heavily favouring teams with favourable fixtures. In my own FPL team, I don't own any Liverpool, Brentford or Villa players, and so using the chip to load up on players from those teams seems like a decent move. I can't look past the fact that Wolves have been extremely poor this season, and Villa have looked very comfortable at home. Everything about this one points to one direction, and I'm just hoping that Rodgers can be more involved than he has been during most Premier League games this campaign. Igor Thiago is the first player to make the front 3. On a free hit, this almost feels like one of those no-brainer picks, as Brentford have looked extremely impressive at home, whilst Burnley have conceded 18 times away from home, which is an average of 3 goals per game. Thiago is now the 2nd highest scoring forward in the game with 60 points, and he's already netted 8 times this season, including 4 times in his last 4 Premier League matches. This is a game week where it feels like there are 4 or 5 viable forward options to back, but Thiago, along with the next player I've included, are absolute non-negotiables in my opinion, and that other player is of course Erling Haaland, who faces Leeds at home. I would argue that there are a number of players in this team worthy of captaincy, but to me, it just feels too dangerous to back against the big Norwegian. That penalty miss against Liverpool really messed up my triple captaincy last week, as Haaland returned a total of 12 points, when on another day he could have easily returned 39. However, I'm still keeping faith that the City forward will continue to dominate whichever opposition he faces, and in game week 13, that's a Leeds team who have conceded 15 away goals this season, including 6 in their last 2 matches. We're now 11 games into the campaign, and who would have thought that Ollie Watkins would sit 15th in the list for total points among forwards in the game. Despite Villa's turnaround in form, Watkins has still only scored once this season, which is an enormous drop-off from his performances towards the tail end of last season. However, I'm sure that Emery will be desperate to get the England international back on the score sheet, and this feels like the week it could happen, as Villa are so solid at home, and Wolves are currently the weakest side in the division, and I just can't see them keeping a clean sheet here. Long term, there's no way I'd be going with Watkins, but for a single game week, this feels like the ideal week to take a chance on him. That means that I've gone for some real quality on the bench, with Dubravka, Mukiele, Freddie Potts and Dixon. As this free hit draft leaves me with 0.0 million in the bank, there's a few changes that could be made here to accommodate for any price rises in the starting 11, but for the large part, this is the team I'll be going into game week 13 with. So what do you make of it? What changes would you make? Let me know down below in the comments, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and best of luck in hitting those big green arrows.